Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwand, and welcome to Selling Power TV. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with David Leinweber. He is the CEO of Level 11. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Gerhard.
What does Level 11 mean? What does it stand for?
So Level 11, when we first set up the company, we thought most things are measured on a scale of 1 to 10, and we wanted to get past that and get to 11. And for Spinal Tap fans out there, there's the concept of cranking it up to 11 as well, I suppose.
So one of the tools that sales managers are using to become more successful as an organization and help salespeople become more successful is coaching.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the best practices that you have seen?
Sure. We actually have done a fair amount of research and happy to share that we have an ebook around the 7 best practices for coaching, but I'll give you 2 from that. One of them is obviously having weekly one-on-ones. It's kind of a no-brainer, but a lot of managers might ignore that. There's competing priorities for your week, and maybe you push it off to it's every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, every month. And certainly for a frontline sales manager, it's good to stay close to it. And I guess finding ways to either pull in the data you need more automatically so you're not spending hours doing research per person, but you obviously want to tailor your coaching to the rep. So that's number one. And the other one would be make sure that it's a data-driven conversation, not just what's going well, where do you need help. Make sure you're documenting it, adding action items, referring back to those action items in the next meeting, and just basic having a good conversation so that you know where you stand week to week and month to month.
So the one-on-one meeting should last how long?
We've seen anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. I would recommend probably 30 to 45 minutes because if you're doing an hour every week, that can certainly fill up your calendar pretty quick, especially if you're managing 8, 10. We've seen as many as 15 reps per manager. Obviously, that can be a challenge.
And how would you measure the quality of a one-on-one conversation?
I'd say you'd measure the quality obviously in the outcomes. I mean, is the rep improving over time? Or, if you're constantly talking to them about how do they have better conversations on the phone, are those conversations getting better? And you measure that, I think, by, again, documenting it, showing examples of where you were 6 months ago versus 3 months ago versus today, and how are they performing against their peers. So any way you can snapshot data and look at year-to-date performance, the last few periods, how they're doing against their peers, will certainly measure how they're doing better over time.
Makes a lot of sense. A lot of companies are hiring a lot of people to ensure that they continue to grow. What is the best way to reduce ramp-up time?
So first and foremost is obviously defining your sales process and making sure that it's well documented in playbooks and having 30, 60, 90-day plans for when people join your organization. And I think if you then embed that into your technology stack so that it's reinforcing those behaviors, so whether that's with real-time scorecards or some form of automated coaching or success plans, making sure that as they're hitting those 30-day, 60-day milestones that they're making progress and that their goals are ramping up as they go. One of our customers, Paycor, was able to reduce their ramp time from 6 months to 3 months, and that was really around, again, they defined their sales process, they put it into an automated scorecard, and then they coached around those things so that they're able to get more first meetings, which was really the thing that they found to be a key driver of business going forward.
Right. So when it comes to reinforcing sales behavior, so what is the best methodology?
I mean, there's lots of methodologies out there. I would say that once you define what's your sales philosophy, as you coined in your keynote, or your sales processes, again, writing it down, putting it into your systems, and make sure it's repeated day in and day out. And I would say having a combination of motivating, engaging, and coaching people around that, because day to day, whether you're making a lot of cold calls, that can feel like really thankless work. So if you're celebrating the small wins of you hit 5 meetings this week, or you set up 5 opportunities for an account executive if you're a sales development person, or an account executive if you've done a good job prospecting your territory, celebrating those small wins because you're not going to be closing a deal every single day. So that's on the motivate side. And then again, as we talked about, coaching is really important to reinforce those key behaviors. So you define the process, you check in with the person every week and see how they're progressing towards their goals.
So let's talk about coaching. How do you respond to a sales manager who says, I don't have the time for coaching?
We hear that a lot. And the reason why we hear that typically is because they have so many competing priorities. As a sales manager, you have a quota you're responsible for. You have to coach and nurture your team. There's day-to-day deals that have to make decisions in real time. You can't be waiting around for approvals and everything. So the biggest thing that we say to that is find a way to streamline the process. So instead of if you have to look in 3 or 4 different places to get the data to have an effective coaching conversation, it's probably not going to happen. Or if you don't have a way to easily collect information from the reps, maybe ahead of time, so you can tailor the conversation, you're just going to get bogged down, especially if you have 8, 10, 15 reps that you're managing. So some ways we've seen it help with that is, one, making sure that the reps are doing their homework and filling out something ahead of time, so that way you know what they want to talk about. Having a way to automatically pull that information into the conversation, so you're not running a lot of reports and dashboards. And again, just setting up the time and making sure it's blocked and you don't move it, because if you're constantly moving around your one-on-ones, that can be a real challenge, obviously.
So, David, you've worked with so many companies, and you have done this now for 6 years,
Yes.
and you've developed a wealth of information. What resources are you willing to share with our audience?
Sure. If for anyone looking, go to level11.com. We have a number of resources. We have the 7 best practices for coaching that I mentioned. We also have a KPI report, which we looked at what are the metrics that the top companies are using to measure their teams, and we normalize the data so that you can look at by industry, by role, what are some of the things that people are using to measure and drive performance. And then I guess the last thing I would say is, look at ways to, again, help automate this process for your team. So whether that's using something like Level 11 or something else out there, or even building something internally, find ways to, free up more of your manager time, make sure the reps are focused on the right things, and celebrate the small wins
Right.
along the way.
Well, I want to add, if you want to be number one in sales, go to level11.com.
Thank you, Gerhard.
Thank you.